Mars, the future. But instead of a dusty western where space cowboys rule, or a place where cybernetic people lay waiting year after year for a trip on the 999, we find an advanced civilization a stone's throw away from our own first world countries. A young girl named Tuesday sneaks out of her Hampton-esque mansion to take a train into the big city. It's a tale as old as time in a place at the razor's edge of modernity. In this future, entertainment has been boiled down to its molecular makeup, studied, dissected, and resynthesized into perfection, ironed out and cut on a conveyor belt. Tuesday arrives with nothing but a guitar and a suitcase in the Neo city that never sleeps, Alba, to make it big. Ironically, this is a mirror of the early 80s when music was still organic to a degree. When people like Madonna and Axl Rose, and as the show mentions itself, Cyndi Lauper did the same thing, gave up everything to take a bus to the big city and find their way through music. Carole and Tuesday is an anime steeped in the past, taking place in the future and revolving around the universal human language, music. However, as Robert Frost said, nothing gold can stay. And as I say right now, purity is a wound ripe for rot. Dreams can become nightmares, hope can become despair, and only tenacity keeps us driven to finish that which we started. So without further ado, let's get into Carole and Tuesday. Carole, an orphan and ex-refugee from Earth, lives in Alba City. She has no direction and an in-your-face attitude that gets her in trouble in socially restricted situations like work, which she's constantly hunting for thanks to being consistently fired. She doesn't fit the mold, but she does need to pay her bills. In her spare time, she plays her piano on a bridge. She introduces us to the world of artificial intelligence, full of self-driving cars and AI alarm clocks, while also reeling it into a more relatable setting full of graffiti and trash bags and trash city people. It's our society with some advancements, but with nothing that really changes the way that we would live our lives, other than, of course, convenience and homogeny. Within the first 5 minutes, we know both Carole and Tuesday are still people. They're living nice and normal. It lets us relate to them on a personal level without any extra dialogue or events to compensate. When Tuesday arrives in Alba, she's mesmerized by the flashiness of the screens that surround her, a parallel of Times Square. Yet we're also shown Carole's neighborhood, which has street vendors and thieves, kind of like the Bronx. After getting her AI suitcase, which looks like it costs more than my car, stolen from her, Tuesday has a fateful meeting with a young woman playing piano on a bridge. Carole hums while playing her keyboard, only to open her eyes and is surprisingly staring face to face with a watery-eyed Tuesday, who explains she can feel the meaning of Carole's song despite the lack of lyrics. Their conversation is cut short by a cop, and they book it back to Carole's place. Tuesday then shows Carole her notebook of lyrics she wrote for Carole's song. Without skipping a beat, the two jump into a scene that hurt my soul. The two begin playing together and working out the song like a blacksmith with an ingot. Should be no secret by now that I'm a musician, whatever that means. I grew up playing in punk bands. I started when I was 12, and out of all the people that I've played music with, there was only one person that I was able to collaborate with like this. And unfortunately, I don't really get to see him very much anymore. What the show can't convey is the feeling you get when someone understands you artistically to the point where they can collaborate with you, when they can mix their self with you to make something better. It's truly like your souls are connecting. It's an indescribable mix of passion and unity and fun. It's also incredibly rare. But is their session perfect? Hell no. In fact, creator Shinichiro Watanabe, the guy who made Cowboy Bebop, took painstaking measures to ensure that comes across. They're not in tune with each other, they need to keep stopping and restarting the song, they have to look at the notebook for the lyrics, and Tuesday is just a step behind Carole, who is leading her through. This is their first time ever playing together, and it shows, but when they begin to find their rhythm and then add the lyrics, what started out as a bit of a bumbling session between strangers begins to pull your heartstrings along a tune describing loneliness that we've all experienced before. It feels like you're watching the birth of something special, a private moment between two strangers that will inevitably bond them from this moment forward. As someone who's been there before, it made me want to jump in super badly.
Can you feel my
And while the track is describing a feeling we know all too well, their coming together in song simultaneously destroys the loneliness they're singing about, which is symbolically beautiful of what friendship, passion, and music can do. It's this song and these scenes that entrench the two as our underdogs and heroes of the story. They post their first picture on Instagram with 0 followers to their account. It's rock bottom for anyone trying to make it big in any industry, and that's where the first episode ends. Realistically, and with nowhere to go but up. There's nothing dark about a dream until it becomes a reality. We can have hopes and aspirations, but until we act on them, they're just intangible nothings we think of while telling ourselves maybe one day. Carole and Tuesday is a story of making those nothings into something and how often nothing can stay as nothing. It takes skill, connections, and a shitload of luck to get where you want to be. Carole and Tuesday hit all those check marks, but in a way I caution is incredibly unrealistic. Just days after meeting each other, they're candidly filmed playing their song by a person with an influential social media profile, and the video just happens to go viral. Shortly after, a washed-up manager sees that video and then tracks them down. Within no time, they're set to play a show in front of 100,000 people. Things generally don't work that way. But here's something that most people don't know. I, too, am also a runaway. Just like Tuesday, I left my house, though it was very normal-sized, at 17 with a suitcase and an acoustic guitar. I'm not gonna get into why, but I struggled for many years. I played many shows, wrote hundreds of songs. Even Hayley Williams from Paramore heard our old demo tape and loved it. But here I am, making videos about anime and video games on YouTube. I found a way to express myself and reach people, but it wasn't what I dreamed I'd be doing. And there's a reason for this. The music I made wasn't for everyone, and I refused to budge on what I was creating. To be truly successful in an industry, you have to cater to the least common denominator, and I don't. However, this is something that is brilliantly highlighted in the anime and is truly my favorite piece. Tao, a failed neuroscientist and not failed music producer, creates songs for pop stars through artificial intelligence. In fact, almost all the music produced and written on Mars is made through artificial intelligence. In a brief explanation, he says this.
Well, of course. Anything from Daft Punk to Michael Jackson. All of it can be simulated.
Now, something that not a lot of people know is that much of the music created now, at least things you hear on the radio or that are shoved down your throat in box office movies or on Vivo, is created very similarly to the way it is on Mars, in Carole and Tuesday, of course. There are people whose job it is to write hits. These songs that are coming out in 2019 often sample or use melodies or straight up rip off songs from the 50s, 60s, and 70s because, well, it works. And because most people don't notice. Mainstream music is just squeezy cheese. Yeah, it's pretty good, but it's not good for the heart like some homegrown vegetables. There's always been songwriters and singers. Sometimes one can't do the other. But over the last 70 years, a formula has been created. AI music and DJs are the inevitable peak of that process. So we have a story of underdogs clawing their way to success through passion, hard work, and luck against a corporate machine that has perfected ear-pleasing music. This struggle is fully put into perspective by their rival, Angela. She's a full-grown child actor who's changing careers to music. She has everything already, adoring fans, a no audition necessary entry to the live shows of Mars Brightest, and state-of-the-art technology to produce her songs with the most gifted producer on the planet, obviously Tao. Her entire life is dedicated to her new musical career, and there's really nothing to get in her way, and yet her problems and struggles feel just as real as the ones of our two protagonists. As someone caught in the industry, she is a puppet to Tao's production, with little to no say in her creative process that's often hurtful. She's a slave to her mother's whims, following the Hilary Duff child star to music path laid out for her. Episode 7 allows us to infer she was abused as a child. Angela is a hero of the other side, a former child star with tons of baggage who's surrounded by people who want things from her. And she has to work tirelessly to not get tossed aside like last night's leftovers. Staying relevant is no easy task. Like Carole and Tuesday, it's her passion and desire that keeps her on top, and her own victories feel just as justified and validating as Carole and Tuesday's. In addition, Angela's life is a look at what might be coming in the future for Carole and Tuesday. If they succeed, what happens when business is mixed with pleasure? What happens when passion becomes a career? There's nothing dark about a dream until it becomes a reality. Angela is a consistent reminder of that truth. Perhaps this hit me harder than most, but I think we can all relate to the desire to make it big and to follow our dreams and succeed. That's what this channel is. It's a passion project. It's something me, Grant, Ryan, and Tyler thought of one day and decided to take a leap of faith and go for it. We've been at that rock bottom before, full of hopes and fears, the hope of being able to follow our passions, of creating something we found beautiful and hoping against hope that others see the beauty in it too. The adrenaline rush of starting something new, of having nowhere to go but up, and working with those you care for on the things you care about. The fear of failure, the difficulty of starting because that means that tomorrow you might fail. The fear of being hated or making something you love and being ridiculed for it. The fear of the unknown. Wanting to create something and having no idea how to even begin. The truest moment of Carole and Tuesday is when they take the stage as filler for a star act people paid too much money to see. On stage, the pair seem so small. They have no presence, no light show. Their songs weren't produced. It's just raw, bare bones music created by two young women. The pissed off crowd boos them. The girls are pelted by bottles and cans as they bravely try to make their way through their song, just to be interrupted by the drunken bastard they were filling in for in the first place. This one scene cements their struggle to pursue their passion and highlights how nasty the entertainment business can be. And this is the true battle of Mars Brightest, a competition I mentioned a little bit earlier that the pair enter after that failed concert. A battle of heart versus standards, fame and industrial perfection, the struggle to make your dreams a reality. And it's also the climax of part 1. In the beginning, C and T were barely getting by, working part-time jobs, getting picked up by a drunk has-been for a manager, and sitting watching their clothes spin at the local laundromat. These scenes are eventually contrasted by small victories, making a slightly viral video, playing their first gig, getting an appointment with a big-time DJ. But just like real life, not everything works out. Carole and Tuesday royally piss off an influential star at one point, and in the final conflict, real life comes crashing down. Tuesday's politician mom has her kidnapped and brought back home under lock and key. After escaping, Tuesday and Carole arrive too late to the Mars Brightest finals, something they had worked so hard to achieve. They were automatically disqualified. But an exception was made by the hosts and their finalist rival Angela to allow them to play one last song. Their choice was The Loneliest Girl, which was the very first song they ever sang together, now improved. The song's weight is amplified by the entire plot leading up to this moment. The two were separated after 11 episodes together, afraid to message each other and feeling truly alone for the first time since they met. And yet, unlike the first time, their song is complete, rendering the entire audience speechless. It's a pointed message that the feeling of loneliness, of having no one and feeling nothing, can stem from not following your passion. It's a message machines can't express. We aren't meant to work mundane jobs and nothingness that leave us more and more jaded with each passing day. We're meant to feel and to be alive, and too often we forget what that means. It means pursuing what you enjoy, not necessarily for monetary gain or fame, but just simply for the pleasure of doing it. And that alone can help destroy the worst feelings you can experience. After their performance, both Carole and Tuesday and Angela are awarded music contracts. Now, I found this corny personally, but it's better than stretching out the story to inevitably get them a contract in a different way or having Carole and Tuesday win in an upset when Angela's performance was arguably better. However, it is important to note that part 1 is only the first half of the season, and the second half will likely drop in America closer to the end of the year, and it's likely to have a completely different feel than the first. Tyler, our team member, holds firm that Carole and Tuesday is a classic anime in the making. He's confident Shinichiro Watanabe's newest work will go down in history as a masterpiece that we'll look back on and discuss for years to come. Watanabe's ability to prove over and over again that he can pinpoint the heartbeat of society in his work and capture our attention unlike any other director is uncanny. He can make you feel in a time when we're more jaded and numb than ever before. While in general this kind of anime isn't my personal cup of tea, I do like its theming and messages, which aren't just for the viewers of today. They will resonate in the decades to come. My question is whether or not people are going to be watching. Carole and Tuesday is acutely aware of the current state of our world and respects a time since past. Personally, what will make or break this show for me is how it handles the true kryptonite of anyone with a soul, business, which is inevitably what will come next when the contracts get brought out. As we continue to develop more and more automated industries, our world seems just a few steps away from Carole and Tuesdays. It's that closeness that lets us bond with these characters and the environment that they live in, either out of a fear of a world like that or a desire for it. The two are living out a story that could happen at any time in any age, regardless of setting, and it's a story we've all wished upon ourselves at one time or another. At least, that's what I think. If you've ever had a dream, if you've ever felt like no one understood you, Carole and Tuesday wants to simply give your raw passion hope. Watching both sides climax at the same time leaves a resounding message. Passion creates struggle, but those difficulties are what makes us feel alive. Whether we're rich and famous or a poor nobody, or even poor and famous, we all have goals and aspirations. What stops us from reaching them is the fear of the struggles that come from trying or the pain of failure. We fear failure. We fear hate, we fear giving up. But the path of life has been and will always be littered with difficulty, no matter who you are. What you truly want is worth trudging through the toil to get. If you aren't afraid to stand up to that struggle, to get knocked down and fight your way back up a million times, a brighter future and a more fulfilling life is on the other side. However, do remember, the grass is always greener. I see this anime as a story about confronting your fears, whether those are fears of escaping a bad home life, playing in front of someone for the first time, the fear of having to fend for yourself, of failing, of being forgotten, or of letting down those you care about. Fear means you have something to lose, and I'd rather fight for that something than have nothing to lose at all. Carole and Tuesday is a reminder that we all need something worth fighting for, and that something comes from what we're passionate about. It can be music, or cause, or career, sports, art, or even making YouTube videos. We all have something, and the road to happiness revolves around pushing through the struggle that is born from wanting passion to take substance. It's hard work, and nobody talks about successful people's failures. You just have to hold firm that everyone makes mistakes just like you. Appearances are for show. So while you're on that journey, take your time to close your eyes and just feel the beat. Hey everybody, thank you so much for making it to the end. I hope that you liked our take on Carole and Tuesday. I would fully expect another episode on it later when part 2 drops in America. I think it's going to be as good, if not better, than the first season. Of course, there's a lot of things to discuss about the show, so please leave your comments below and let us know what you thought of this and what you thought of Carole and Tuesday as well. A couple announcecements before I head out this week. I was on the MangaPod Book Club podcast this week. That was on twitch.tv/DexBonus, DEXBONUS. So if you're interested in that, we covered Dr. Stone. It was really fun. It was a good time, and it worked out because we just put out a Dr. Stone video. So if you're interested, make sure you check that out. I am going to be in Hartford on the 28th and 29th for the Retro World Expo. This is not an ad, I'm not getting paid. I just want you guys to come out and see me if you can. That is the Retro World Expo in Hartford, Connecticut. And then on November 2nd and 3rd, I will be in Atlantic City for the J1 Con. Again, this is not an ad, I'm not getting paid. I just really want you guys to see me. Come support the cons, have a good time. Both of them are relatively cheap. Finally, our lucky patron of the week is JM. JM, I mean, what can I say about JM? This guy, he's been supporting us forever and ever and ever. Like, he supports Treesicle, he supports the streams. He's one of the best patrons anybody could possibly ask for. JM is the best. So thank you so much, my dude, for constantly being there for us and just being a great guy all around, DMing Ryan and Grant and Tyler's Dungeons and Dragons games. Just being an all-around awesome guy. Thank you so much, JM. If you would like a chance to be shouted out as the lucky patron of the week, make sure that you check out patreon.com/bonsaipop. And while you're at it, check out our social medias. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. It's bonsai_pop. Anyway, I'm Mike. This is Bonsai Pop, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.